Hi everyone. I am back home, not for long, so that's why I decided to record a recap about my victory in Munich today, because when I'll be back home after my new travels, well, there are going to be many more chess events to talk about. The World Championship match is approaching, so I decided to use the time that I have right now. I'd like to start with giving a big shout out to all those wonderful hosts who streamed throughout the event, the tournament, starting from round 2, and I will appreciate a lot if you could just follow them if you haven't done so already, and that would be wonderful. For the moment, let me show you a small video clip of all, not all, but of some of the moments throughout those streams and rounds.
Wait. None of the cameras show. What just happened?
I was too nervous about it.
Oh yes. So yeah.
Yes! Finish! 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 GG! 4 out of 4. Incredible. Insane. Yes. We survived. Yes, 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 yes.
Wonderful. Let's just say, you know, what's going to make us feel a little bit better is that we're her lucky charm. And that is what I'm sticking by.
Okay, but I think that's a draw. Dead center. Okay.
Okay, I think the game might be over here.
Yeah, I think everyone can take a deep breath and release it.
It's amazing to have 6.5 out of 8 in the tournament with the best players. Opponent. And of course, if Alexandra wins the game, she pretty much guarantees first place, even with 2 more rounds to go. This is how big is the gap. She did it! Look at her! Look at her! She's shaking her head. She's so angry at herself. Now she is much more, like, kind of relaxed. Okay, yeah, she is upset about losing, but I think the joy of winning the tournament is much stronger.
So thank you, Jazz February, Alexandra Samaganova, Lily Karidze, Adriana Nikolova, Hakim, Maria Emelianova, James Canton, Nicholas Torthin for making all those streams possible. Let me give a shout out. I'm learning how to do that. I will do a shout out to every single one of those wonderful streamers throughout this stream, so you can remind me if I forget. And yeah, that was a great commentary team, and probably that's why the result was so great. Yeah, hi Hakim, I was just talking about my wonderful hosts. And now we can get to the analysis board, because I think it's so important to analyze your games and to go over all the mistakes that you made and all the wonderful moves that happened throughout a tournament. So I cannot say that I had time to really dive into all those games yet. I am in the process of doing so, but nevertheless, I decided to talk today about those games that might help me to look differently at some of the moments. So let's start with the round number 1. Round number 1 Why it's not coming? No. Round number 1, I was playing white against Alina Kashlinskaya. That was the only round that had not been streamed to my channel, because my wonderful hosts started streaming starting from the second round, so probably some of you hadn't had the chance to look at this game, and we'll do it together. So I was playing white and I started the game with my favorite e4, the move that I've been making in most of my games throughout my career. Well, that's how my chess career started, with this move, and well, I still enjoy playing openings. Okay, e4, e5, and Alina opted for the Petrov defense. In Russia we call it the Russian game. And it was a very long theoretical line. I captured on e5, she captured on e4, after including d6, which is considered to be more precise than capturing on e4 immediately. Bishop d3, and well, here is one of the tabias, of the first tabias of this particular line. Black has several moves to make, and this line has been played in many world championship matches. Knight c6, well, one of the possibilities. We're not going to dive into like theoretical discussions, because we can spend hours nowadays in every single opening line if we do. Knight b2 d2. Well, I'm trying to play against this knight. I am exchanging it. The pawn structure is very symmetrical. It can also arise from, for example, exchange line of the French defense. And white has a small slight plus, but with accurate play from black, of course, the game should end in a draw. c3, castle, h3, bishop h5, g3, quite a weird move, but this is the move I'm trying to unpin this knight. I'm trying to prepare my queen's moves either to c2 or to b3, because right now if I move my queen, then this knight will be captured and the pawn structure will be broken, and my king might end up in a trouble. So I'm making a very weird looking move from the first side, but in fact my plan is to play king g2 to protect the knight by the king, and then move my queen away if I want to coordinate my rooks, bring my rook to the e file, and so on and so on. And in some of the lines and some of the variations, for example, if black plays f5 here, white can play queen c2. Even though this move is possible, it's not so dangerous as it looks. The king goes to f3 and then it safely goes back as nothing had happened. Yeah, quite a weird line. And Alina continues here with bishop g6. Of course, exchanging pieces is one of the black's plan. Here in this position, the pawn structure is symmetrical. White is slightly better developed. They have a slight advantage due to better development, and that leads to some pressure. So more pieces are exchanged, well, closer this full equality is. I captured, and here black captured with the f pawn. It's also not a novelty, but if black captures with the h pawn, I had some games like that. White has a plan with the attack on the h file, h4, followed by rook h1, h5, and thus black captures with the f pawn, even though usually we suggest that pawns should go towards the center, but in this case the safety of the king is a very important factor for black, and also by capturing on g6 with the f pawn, black opens up the f file that can be used for some counterplay later on. Here I played queen e2, trying to transfer my queen to d3. There were other games by strong players where white opted for some sharp lines, moving away the knight, preparing this f4 move, but I wasn't in such an aggressive mood. After all, it was just the first round, the first classical over-the-board game of the year. So I wanted to play it as calmly as possible, as solid as possible. I played queen e2, rook a to 8, queen d3, bishop d6. Everything is quite logical. The file is the only open file in the position, so it's quite important. And that's why both opponents put their rooks to this e-file. And here Alina started a maneuver that actually brought her many problems later on. So knight e7, well, for the moment, well, it's already maybe, I mean, according to the computers, this move is fine. But if you look at this position, like without any computer evaluation and already knowing, right, understanding that the E file is very important, we know that open files are very important. We know that the center squares are very important. And this move looks quite weird in that sense, because black moves away the knight. It covers the rook on e8. It also gives away the control of the e5 square. After knight e7, I can always consider knight e5, like it looks more powerful. And well, yes, maybe black was scared like to miss queen b5 at some point, but maybe even playing a6 would have been better, would have been a better decision. And then try to exchange as many pieces as possible by playing queen f5 at some point. Okay, knight e7. Definitely not the move that lost the game, but you know, sometimes in a chess game it's very important to move your pieces in the right direction, because as soon as you start moving them in the wrong direction, the whole game goes in a very bad way. Rook e2. So as I said, the E file is the key file in this position, and that's why I'm doubling up the rooks on this very important file. H6, the move that already surprised me a lot during the game, rook f2 e1, and here black continued with g5, which again, if you said A, it's quite logical to say B, but it seems that the A, B, the whole plan is completely wrong. And well, the computer suggests here a very weird move. I'm sure Alina didn't even consider it during the game, which is rook f7, with the idea to support the knight somehow, and after knight h4, g5, knight g6, to be able to move this rook away, rook d8. But of course, very hard to play in such a style. I think it just would be so much easier not to weaken the position of the king side. H6, rook f2 e1. And here black has to do something already. Rook f7, if you don't make this move, if you don't find this move, then you cannot end up in trouble very, very fast, and that's what happened in the game. After g5, the king side weakened a lot. I played c4, and here, for example, if black plays c6, then white can play c5, bishop c7, and use these weaknesses by sacrificing the bishop. The idea is that after h takes g5, knight takes g5, this pin is very, very unpleasant. It's not clear how to unpin. I'm threatening to give a checkmate. Knight f5 is not possible because I just captured twice on e8 and I capture on f5, thus winning 2 pawns. It's an absolutely winning position. Actually no, I have, if the bishop is on c7, because the bishop could have retreated to b8. Here I have a very cute, of course I can capture here and capture there. It was a winning position, but I can start by capturing on f5. And after queen takes f5, rook e8, queen f8, I capture on f8, and I win the bishop on c7 with a fork. Okay, some small cute tactics. thus black is in trouble if they play g6. Again, okay, they have an extra piece for the moment, for 2 points. They defended the h7 square, but I can just improve my position. I can play rook e6, and again rook takes g6. It's starting to be quite an unpleasant idea, and black is completely pinned up, tied up, and it's not so clear what to do. I'm ready to play queen e2. For example, after in g7, I can triple my major pieces on the e file, and again, this e file, you see how important it is. Well, after bishop takes g5, rook takes f3 also a possibility, but it doesn't help, again, because of this annoying pin on the e file. Well, okay, what to do? Already quite a signal for black that her position starts to be shifting towards very, very dangerous one. After d takes c4, queen takes c4, king h8, rook e6. Black made, well, the final mistake here. It could have been the final mistake. Knight c8. Again, this knight, this poor knight, for some reason in this game, all the moves, or most of the moves that this knight made were very bad ones. I don't know why, but it was a bad game for this knight. d5, knight b6, and here unfortunately I miscalculated. I didn't find the strongest move. I could have finished the game in 5 moves. Queen e4 looks very, very logical. I was saying a lot, and I will be saying a lot about the e file here. Tripling the pieces on the e file and almost forcing black to take on e6, because if the rook goes to d8, here I take on h6 and I give a checkmate. Very nice checkmate. Queen g6. So black is almost obliged to capture on e6, thus letting my pawn on e6. And of course I considered this line. I calculated it a lot during the game. If queen goes to e7, I just capture the pawn on b7 with a winning position. But queen c6. What to do after queen c6? Of course, queen takes e6 is an option, and it's such a good option that it could have been enough to go for this line. But I was calculating e7. I like this move a lot. Just one more step towards becoming a queen, right? For this pawn. Rook e8. And what to do now? The pawn is on e7. It's kind of hanging. Queen g6, I was calculating. But, unfortunately, I was stopping the whole calculation process after rook takes e7. Because I didn't see the next move. And I have a winning move here. And if I would have seen it, I would of course play queen e4, and there are big chances that this position would happen on the board. If you'll be watching this recap on YouTube, you have a chance to stop the video and try to find this winning move. Well, if you know that there is a winning move in this position and you're already in this position, it's quite easy to find. And that's what spectators sometimes don't realize when they just look at the computer evaluations, they look at all the moves that computer writes, how actually difficult it is for players during a game. Because, well, when you play, first of all, you don't know, well, you feel, right, the computer evaluation, but you're not 100% sure. Even when you look at the position, but if you calculate a line, especially a line that involves a lot of sacrifices, you are not sure that this line is winning. And sometimes you just stop this calculation, sometimes you just don't see a move number 5, 6, 7 in this long line, and thus you cannot just go there. I mean, especially if you need to sacrifice some material. and that's why some of the winning opportunities are very, very easy to miss. Yes, exactly. Here, when we look at this position already, here and already knowing that there is a winning possibility, bishop c3 is quite easy to spot, and it would be, I mean, it is nice that you noticed it. Bishop c3, putting the pressure on the long diagonal, creating this queen takes h6 threat. King g8 is also not possible because of rook takes e7 and queen takes g7 is a checkmate. So bishop c3, yeah, is the winning move, and thus queen e4 was the strongest move here, and it would most likely end the game quite easily. Instead, since I didn't like this line with queen c6, I played queen g4, almost forcing the queen, or I thought so, to go to f7, and after queen f7 I played queen e4, so black, in order not to let black's queen to go to c6. That's also fine, but here comes another problem. After rook d8, here it's possible to play it rook d8, there is no more rook h6 and bishop c3, because the queen is already closer to the king, it can protect the king. Bishop c3, king g8, rook g6, and it feels that white is winning. But unfortunately, after rook f to 8, there is only one move that wins. And again, during the game, when you calculate, when you, like, the time trouble is approaching, you're not sure there is such a move. You feel that, I mean, white's position is such a dominant position, where all the pieces are standing so beautifully, and I mean, it just, black is barely holding. Unfortunately, after rook takes g7 doesn't win because of queen takes g7, and after queen e8, rook e8, there is queen f8, and the pawn on d5 is gonna fall, and thus, okay, maybe there is a still small tiny plus for white, but it's not a winning position anymore. And what to do? What else to do? So I repeated the position, and now if I play rook g6, rook f to 8, thank you so much for your support. If I play rook g8, after rook f to 8, I'm gonna face again the same situation where I need to demonstrate this winning move, and I couldn't find it, but there was one. So the winning move here is queen to c2, and it's very important. I was calculating queen to b1 during the game, but in that case rook e1 attacks the queen, while after queen to c2, if black plays rook takes e1, I just capture on g7, winning the queen. The rook is under attack, and black doesn't have a chance to do both, to protect the rook and to capture the bishop. And after queen c2, okay, rook e1 loses, but what to do after bishop f8? That was the problem as well. I didn't see this very strong idea of improving this position to its maximum. Here white plays and wins, and here's another opportunity for you to stop the video and to try to find the best continuation for white. Well, for those watching on Twitch live, I'm gonna show this move immediately. This move is rook e to e6. Very nice move, bringing one more rook to the 6th rank, supporting this rook, and what is more important, preparing after knight takes d5 to capture on h6. That's the idea, because otherwise, if I lose the central pawn, the position will be lost. And white is winning, because here, even though black has a pair of rooks for the queen, but the king is very weak, And after knight d4, for example, or maybe some other moves, because here we need to consider knight f4. Still h4 or something like this. The king, because of those pawns moves, h6 and g5 is so weak that white should win. Well, in the game I didn't notice this line, I didn't notice this idea, but I was sure that the position is winning. And that's why I decided to improve the line a little bit by playing h4. My idea was that after g takes h4, I thought that I could play rook g6. And here after rook f to e8, first of all, queen g4 is a move to consider, but I can capture, that's what I thought. And if we compare this endgame to the endgame in the line, in the similar lines that I showed a little bit before, here pawns are already, well, I have already a passed pawn on the f file, and this pawn is well, it's quite easy to attack even straight away. I'm not sure that's the best move, but a possibility definitely. And I thought that this endgame is a great endgame. Oh, it is indeed quite a good endgame for white, but unfortunately for myself, after g takes h6, rook g6, it's black who wins the game. I'm gonna turn the board. It's black to move and win the game. And you can pause this video and try to find the winning continuation. Again, if you know there is a winning continuation, it's quite easy to find if you start looking already, if you start thinking about that. It's absolutely a different story if you don't know, if you're calculating a line. Well, this one is really quite easy, and I was very lucky that my opponent didn't notice it, because, well, after queen takes f3, queen takes f3, h3, the position is lost, because, well, I'm down a piece. Yes, I'm taking the pawn on g7, I have some compensation. I can try to play, to hope for some miracle to save this game, but most likely white is gonna lose. Thus, g takes h4 was really a necessity here for black, and it's a big question what I was going to do here, because again I was thinking about rook g6. Yes, I also considered rook h1, which looks weird, but the idea behind this move is that after, for example, h takes g3, I have rook g6, I have rook h6 even, and thanks to those pawn sacrifices, I open up the g and h files, and I might have some counterplay. But would I really do this move? I'm not sure. And even if I would, after queen f5, it's me who's gonna fight for a draw, because the queens are gonna be exchanged, and I'm gonna lose this central pawn. I'm gonna need to play an endgame with a pawn down. So yeah, that was a shaky moment in this game that almost spoiled the whole game. And again, it shows how important it is to finish the game, you know, as soon as you have a chance. On the 24th move, I could have finished the game by playing queen e4. Instead, I played queen g4, or I overcomplicated things. And here I missed a winning continuation, a more difficult one again, and almost spoiled the whole game, almost lost it in the time trouble. Fortunately for me, my opponent, for some reason, declined this move, g takes h4. She decided to play g4, queen takes g4, knight takes d5. And here bishop takes g7 is not possible due to queen takes f3, a small trap. That's why I played bishop d4, and I was expecting to see c5. Of course, you need to fight against this bishop, right? Generally, in chess, you need to fight against pieces of your opponent that placed well. And here's definitely this bishop on the long diagonal that, together with the queen, puts a lot of pressure on g7. If you have a chance to push this bishop away, do it. And that's why c5 was a good move. I don't have a lot of option, so I was going to bring it back to c3. And actually this exchange still leads to a slightly pleasant position for white. Not a winning one, but at least not a losing one. But again, something was wrong with this knight. It was keep moving. It was moving and always in the wrong direction. And my opponent made the final blunder, knight to e7, and finally I managed to find a winning continuation. I managed to stop, to think, and find a winning continuation, which is, again, if you're watching this recap in recording, you can pause the video and find it yourself. It's not very difficult, but nevertheless it's quite nice. White uses the pin of this g7 pawn. Well, I must mention that rook takes h6, of course, well, still possible, but then you need to consider and calculate all those lines with queen takes f3. I was calculating it during the game, I remember, because there is rook takes d6, but as soon as I saw another possibility, a stronger move, I of course realized that this one is a much better one. Rook f6, that is the winning move, almost, well, forcing black to sacrifice the queen. But again, because of those weaknesses, the position is completely lost. My knight is most likely gonna get to e6 instantly, and then it's gonna be very hard to protect all those weaknesses and pawns, and I'm gonna win more material, and I already have a queen. So my opponent didn't dare to give up her queen. She played queen to e8, but this leads to immediate resign after rook takes d6, because queen g7 is coming up. Discovery combination for discovery attack. Okay, so that was a good start. Also some shaky moments. Okay, just a second, and we can move on to round number 2. We're moving on. Let me show you the photo where I was playing against the strongest female German player, Elisabeth Betz. Well, as you know, we have such a history against with Elizabeth, because we started playing against each other. Our first game was back in 1994, so quite a long time ago. So many games have already been played, and I hope that there are gonna be many more games. Surprisingly, I was very lucky in this game. That it ended in my favor, and it ended so well. Because, well, it started with the Evans Gambit in the Italian game, a very sharp opening where white sacrifices a pawn. Well, it's not considered to be very, very dangerous, but as you will be able to see in this game, white managed to win this theoretical duel in her favor. So bishop a5, it's possible to retreat the bishop to e7 as well, but that's the line that I consider to be the main line against the Evans Gambit, and that I prepared at home. And I was applying even in some blitz games. That's why Elizabeth had a chance to prepare. Okay, one of the tabia variations of this line. Black is a pawn up, so they can, for example, protect this pawn on e5 and continue playing with this extra pawn. White is going to play a4, they're gonna play bishop a3, and they're gonna start pushing and putting some pressure with those bishops on these two diagonals. And there were some games where white, despite being a pawn down, used this initiative and won these games. At home, well, some time ago, I decided that, well, it seemed to me that I can just capture the bishop, I can play queen c6, I can give up, I can give back this sacrificed pawn, no big deal, but finish development. Play knight e7. It's also possible to play knight f6, which is considered to be like a quite possible line where white has some initiative, but I mean, equality should be able to black should be able to hold equality. But again, at home I like knight e7, knight g6 maneuver a lot. Knight is transferred to g6 where it's gonna protect the king, and I thought that this position is quite safe to play. There were some games where even recently, in December 2022, in Calcutta, there was a game between FIDE and So. Wesley So played bishop e6, and white FIDE used the idea that actually Elizabeth also used in the game. Apparently, there is a very unpleasant idea for white, a very unpleasant plan against this maneuver, knight e7, knight g6, that white has in mind. That's why it's very important in this particular moment to play, to react well with black. Of course, it's possible to play knight g6, it's possible to sacrifice this pawn, to play queen c6, and thanks to the fact that there is like opposite colored bishops, big drawing chances. But as we're gonna see later on in this tournament, with the rooks on the board, it's not 100% draw. Although very close to it, I think. Rook e8 seems to be the most precise move here. Black is, well, here, like, what is the main problem, right, for black? They want to play knight g6, but as I just showed, as I just demonstrated, white is gonna take on g6 and capture on c7, so the pawn on c7 is hanging. Unless you are willing to sacrifice it by playing knight g6 immediately, you need to improve this position to make this knight g6 move stronger. And one of such moves is rook e8. So now, after knight g6 and capturing, black is going to be able to win the pawn on e4. So you will have some different moves, such as bishop f5 and actually, well, for example, h4, knight g6, capture, they can capture immediately because the pawn is already on g6 and the king can go to h7, and all the opening problems are solved. So rook e8 seems to be the most precise move in this position. Unfortunately, I forgot that there was a game with rook e8, and I didn't opt for rook e8 here, although I considered this move during an almost 20-minute thing here. I played c5, which also seems to be quite logical, but okay. I was scared a little bit about when making this move because it weakens some of the squares, well, mostly d5 and d6. And it doesn't really feel right? It feels a little bit shaky. And that's why when Elizabeth played h4, well, I started to dislike my position. I started to dislike my position a lot. Maybe I had to keep calm and play king h8. And to be able to play h6 after h5. But, you know, I decided to play knight g6. I did see the strongest move for white here. That's another possibility for you to play stronger than players did. But I just didn't believe in this move. I just didn't believe. I was calculating a lot and okay. I saw it. I thought that white has to make this move. But again, I was just hoping that I'm gonna find something after this move. In the game, Elizabeth played knight to f3, and that leads to equality. Instead, white had to play knight to d3. Why? Well, because after retreating the knight, white is threatening to play h5. Black has to protect from this move by playing h5, and the difference between those two squares is that the knight on d3 is not stopping the f-pawn, and white can play f4, and they create a very unpleasant threat f5. And, well, black is in trouble. Yes, they have this move, bishop g4. But again, white has so many nice opportunities. Knight f2, knight e5, f6. It would be tough. I was thinking about some counter-attacking moves such as queen c2, but unfortunately I'm just running late. White is ahead of time. I mean, I was calculating something like this, and maybe I would have gone to something like this, but again, that requires a sacrifice, right? That requires to sacrifice a knight. And my king's position is very, very weak, and when the bishop gets to b2, I'm gonna be in trouble. Anyway, knight d3 here could have brought many unpleasant moments to this game. Instead, after knight f3, I played h5, and since there is no plan with f4, I'm about to play rook e8. I'm totally fine. Well, still, the position is about equal. Elizabeth could have developed her bishop and then protect her pawn on e4, and you can play it on. Instead, she played knight e5, and I think she just missed this e8 square, or at least it felt this way during the game. It was like a blind spot for Elizabeth. She was forgetting that this square is under this black's queen's control. Rook e8, queen h5, rook takes e4, and it was still not too late to capture on e4, play bishop d2, and even though white has to be careful, since we have opposite colored bishops and the queens and rooks are still on, a pair of rooks are still on the board, thus you need to watch out for ideas connected with the direct attack against this king, but I believe it should be a draw pretty easily. And instead, yeah, Elizabeth just blundered. She played bishop f4, completely forgetting that the queen is controlling the square, and thus I'm just able to capture this bishop. And, well, that's it. I have an extra bishop. Blunders happen even in Grandmasters games, well, it just meant that I had a great start, 2 out of 2, which is not so common, not common at all for me in those hard Grand Prix tournaments. And I want to give a shout out to Jess February for commentating the second round, for being my lucky charm on round 2. Okay, if you are not following Jess yet, please do so right now. And I carry on. We are moving forward to round 3. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of me playing against my opponent. In this case, that was Dinara Wagner, and the game from round 3 I consider, well, one of the best games, one of the cleanest games in the tournament. It was a theoretical discussion in this line that, again, in Russia we call the Moscow variation, and I like it to call it this way. Very weird looking move, bishop a4. Okay, some opening nuances that we're gonna skip because it's already been an hour and I'm just at round number 3. Well, here just gonna notice that I'm gonna mention that after capturing on e4, white gets a very dangerous initiative after rook e1, d4, and since black is so badly developed, there are some tactical ideas connected with different sacrifices on the e-file and, well, and getting a big advantage. That's why usually black ignores this pawn. They're playing, there are many moves, e6, a6, g6, e5. I mean, there are many moves, different plans. All of them are possible. a6 is one of them. And we ended up in the structure that is often called and discussed as a hedgehog structure, where white managed to put these 2 pawns in the center on e4 and c4, while black's pawns are allocated and are placed a little bit more passive, but nevertheless this structure for black has some poison, and it's quite poisonous, and black has many ideas connected with d5 and b5 that white has to consider and has to keep an eye on. Bishop b3, bishop d7, f4, knight c6, and here after long thought I decided to capture the knight. Also bishop e3 was another move to consider. Knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, a4, since I already mentioned that b5 is quite a dangerous move and white has to prepare. Well, this is a prophylactical move. The a4 is a prophylactical move against it. b6, black is trying to prepare to put even more pressure on the long diagonal. Bishop c2, and here queen to b7. Well, again, the plan is, well, yes, it's quite logical, right, to play queen b7 and prepare d5, but unfortunately black is late with this plan, and already after this game we can say that this plan was a bad one. What black had to do? Well, maybe just put the bishop on b7, put the rooks on the central files, and maneuver and wait. And maybe later on d5 would be possible. But after queen b7, I found a very strong move, which I'm very proud about. And I like to find strong moves, which one has to be very careful in making before, because when you're putting your pawns in one line, I mean like this, in one horizontal line, you gotta be careful by different your opponent's pawn's attacks, because it's not possible to support this pawn anymore with her other pawns. But in this particular case, after a5, I'm gonna play b5 and I'm gonna play e5, and because of the fact that the queen and rook are located on one diagonal, it's losing. So my opponent continued her plan with d5, but again, I just in time to push all her pieces back. Bishop e8. Unfortunately, it's not possible to play bishop d7 because this bishop is gonna hang. So bishop e8 is forced. Bishop b2, putting my bishop on the long diagonal, and actually thinking very hard about those famous sacrifices on h7 and g7. And unfortunately, I was so tempted with those sacrifices that I spent so much time here. For example, in the game, I spent, I don't know, almost 10 minutes or more calculating all the sacrifices connected with those wonderful, brilliant sacrifices that, well, it's enough for a draw. I must say that it's enough for a draw. Black has to take, and I have to make a perpetual here. f6 is not helping black because of queen h8 and queen h7 with a strong attack. But it's not enough for any advantage, and that's why, I mean, I ended up by making the strongest move, which is queen f3. But again, I spent so much time calculating all the sacrifices, and here again knight takes d5 and considered, and actually here knight takes d5 wins. So if you're watching this recap and recording, you can try to find the winning continuation. If you're a coach and you have a student, you can put this position and just say evaluate knight takes d5. What do you make? I mean, this move in your practical game. Well, here I'm gonna show very fast that, well, first of all, rook takes d5 is not possible due to bishop takes f6. And after knight takes d5, here bishop takes h7, again, I think leads only to perpetual. After queen h5 and bishop takes h7 was the same idea, but there is another idea there's another idea, which is bishop takes g7. I mean, similar idea, but a winning one here, because black cannot capture on g7 due to a check made like this. I'm making this battery queen g4, queen f5, and it's not possible to protect the square anymore. Well, quite a beautiful, I think, combination. Not a very difficult one, especially if you know there is a winning continuation. But during the game, I didn't dare. I didn't see bishop takes g7. I was only calculating bishop takes h7. I was already running quite low on time, below 5-minute mark, I think, and it's moved 24 already. So quite a big time trouble was approaching. So I wanted to play safe. Queen g3 is a great move. Well, d4, yes, because now knight d5 is a threat, right? If black waits, I'm gonna capture on d5. And here knight takes d5 is not possible. Rook takes d5 is losing due to bishop takes f6 and queen h3. So d4 was played, but here the pawn is easily attacked. And I managed to win this pawn. I have an almost winning position, but again, time trouble, time trouble, and you have to watch out for different ideas. Queen takes d1. Nevertheless, because after knight f2, rook takes f2 wins the game. Just a second. Okay, knight f2, rook f2, bishop f2, and here there are many winning continuations. For example, queen d7, and then queen takes f5, or bishop b3 and queen d7. Well, quite a dominating position with a pair of beautiful bishops. Queen b7 my opponent played, but in that case, again, you sometimes need to fight against pieces, your opponent's pieces that are very well placed, and bishop on c5 and knight on e4 are definitely two pieces that are quite annoying. That's why in time trouble especially, I make sure to exchange those pieces. And as soon as those pieces are exchanged, my position becomes, well, it is a winning one, but it's just so much easier to play when your opponent doesn't have strongly placed pieces. Queen f7. Okay, here I made a risky move, but it was quite tempting to try to capture, to trap these bishops. So I was planning to play rook e1 or something like this. Here f6 probably would have finished the game a little bit sooner, but instead, okay, again, I was trying to play it safe, and here I missed a completely easy winning idea. I, of course, saw and considered this move knight e7, and I liked it very much, because if the king goes to f7, there is f takes g6 with a check, and if the king goes to g8, well, there are many winning continuations, and if the king goes to f8, I can play knight e5. For some reason I didn't see it. Okay, rook e1, but here was one shaky moment that as often was left behind the curtains, and black could have set up a deadly trap, or a very, very unpleasant trap, because when I was playing, when I played rook e1, right, I want to take on e4. But of course I saw that there is bishop f7, and here white has to be careful. White has to be careful because rook takes e4 loses, not due to bishop d5, since knight e7 fork is here, but rook takes e4 loses due to rook takes e6, and that, well, that was definitely worth a try. That's why black, well, had to try. They had to play bishop f7 and see what happens. Maybe, what if, huh? Quite a possibility. Of course, knight e7 is possible. Of course, even king g1 is possible. But okay, let's make those moves. Because after bishop e8, well, the rest is easy. I gave a check, now I'm almost forced to give a check. I captured on e4 and it's already move 40. So the time trouble is behind us and the position with 2 extra pawns are very easily converted to a victory in the tournament table. Okay, so just improve the position of the b pawn of my king, and here due to, well, many threats, but due to this one, that's a nice one, my opponent resigned because, well, because white wins. I think that's strongest, I mean, the best game of the tournament, the evenest one, I mean the cleanest one in my evaluation table. Definitely I would put this game on the first place because it was, yeah, just a great clean game from the first move till the last move. Okay, some stronger opportunities to finish this game faster missed in the first time trouble, but nevertheless it was very, very nice. I enjoyed this game a lot, and I want to give a shout out to Alexandra Samaganova and Lily Karidze, who commentated this game in the live, and because of their great efforts you were able to follow them live, those games. So please, please, please make sure to follow this wonderful hosts, wonderful streamers, and yeah. I'm gonna give a shout out to Lily a little bit later on, since there is a limit, time limit in giving shout outs. Okay, meanwhile, let's move on. Round number 4. That was a great start. Meanwhile, right? A great start. 3 out of 3. And in the game number 4, in the round number 4, I was facing white again. Yeah, I had 3 whites in the first 4 games, which happens in round robins. I was playing against Tan Zhangui, who is about to play the final match of the candidates, of the current candidates, against her compatriot in a month. They're gonna start for the place in the World Championship match. And I was playing white, and let's see what happened in this game. Well, Tan Zhangui, she surprised me. There were many surprises. Players tried to surprise me with the second g6. Well, I'm almost certain she prepared something in the line that I usually play. It's of course possible to play d4, but usually I opt for c3. I considered it to be a better version of the Alapin that I play so often. I'm sure you know about that. She played d5, and here usually, and including all my last games, I captured on d5. But I realized recently that e5 is a stronger move here. Okay, the position after e takes d5, queen takes d5, d4, usually in my games it arises in this move order. But that's a different story. Here black played g6, and after c3, yes, white indeed have a chance to play e5. Knight c6, bishop b5, bishop g4, and here a normal move would have been d4. It would be so much better to play d4. But for some unknown reasons, that happens to me sometimes. Creativity spark was there in the tournament hall, and it kind of forced almost me to play short side castle. And then here it was not too late to capture on c6 and then play d4 after queen c6. Well, after b takes c6, then d3 would have been stronger. But anyway, I went on and started playing in a completely blitz style. I sacrificed a pawn, or well, I decided to play c4 and to play for development. After a long side castle, even though d takes c4 would have been even stronger, I played bishop takes c6. That was my idea. My idea was connected with sacrificing the pawn on c4, winning or forcing black to exchange the slight squared bishop, and trying to play against the king. After bishop e6, I played knight g5, even though b3 probably mathematically would have been stronger, but again, I was certain that I need to exchange the slight squared bishop in order to be able to have a good compensation chances. And here queen a4 and b4 strong computer suggests with some compensation indeed. I didn't opt for this line. I decided to protect my central pawn, but actually if I play queen a4, king b8, b4, and if black captures on e5, then this diagonal can backfire. I can even capture on c5, and then create this evergreen game with the queen completely shut out from the play and with some crazy like attack. But I played too slow. Rook e1 is just too slow. Knight h6, again, queen a4, b3 was a better version of all-in game. I played b3 immediately, but in this scenario, after knight a5, bishop f3, b6, b4, I mean, I'm trying what I'm able to do, right, in order to create some pressure on the queen side to open up the lines. Fortunately for me, my opponent made one inaccurate move here, and it was enough to give me back quite a lot of compensation. She played queen c6, probably willing to play e6, but it's too slow. And she had a much stronger move here, which was bishop h6. She needed to develop her bishop via this diagonal. And in that case, after knight a3, king b8, yeah, well, I would put, some pressure on c4, but it's just not enough. I don't have enough time. Rook d4, rook d8 is coming similar to what happened in the game, but with a few extra tempi. Because after knight c6, after queen c6, knight a3, the fact that the queen is no longer on c6 gives me some possibilities. I was playing e6 and bishop c3 after rook d4, for example, which needs to be considered. And here, well, just a few tempi again, and I was able to develop my pieces. And now after bishop h6, I have queen g4 and rook e4. I'm starting to attack this pawn not only vertically, but on the fourth rank, horizontally as well. And after b5, oof, I played rook b1 and I was so happy. Do you realize aesthetically what made me so happy? I was like, that's a position to capture, that's a position to remember. Because look at the diagonal, b1, h7 diagonal. Look at it. It's a full house. And you rarely see it in a game of chess. That, okay, if it's a short diagonal, g1, h2, then yes, but a longer one, and b1, h7 is not, it's not one of the shortest diagonals on the board, so I was very happy in the game to be able to create such a masterpiece. Okay, my opponent played rook c8, and after bishop c3, well, we see that there is some kind of pressure, right, around the king and the pawns and knight b4 is a threat. So black failed here. She spent quite a long time, almost 30 minutes I think. She spent and failed to find the strongest continuation, which was to capture on d2, and after knight b4 to play queen b6. And here, after knight d3, bishop takes e3, I need to be precise. I need to find the way, well, to play queen f3 and then to exchange a pair of pieces. Here I have an extra exchange, but my opponent has 2 pawns for it, and it should be about equal. It should be about equal, but unfortunately for my opponent, she failed to find this line. And since the position, well, actually it's the only way for black to stay alive. She played a5, but this move loses due to a very strong move that I found. Actually, I found it very fast. I managed to notice it, even though, again, it looks quite weird to put your knight on the ring, but that's one of the rare exceptions where it works perfectly. Knight a3 is the strongest move, and black is just not capable of protecting those 2 pawns, because after rook d5 there is rook c4 and white is winning. So king to a6, rook b5, and yeah, the attack is just too strong. My opponent made a few more moves, but of course it couldn't help. It couldn't help, and she resigned. So that was quite a shaky game with a very strange looking play in the opening, very overambitious, especially after such a start of 3 out of 3. But nevertheless, it let me score 4 out of 4, which is amazing, which is of course amazing. And the fourth game was commentated by Adriana Nikolova, and a huge shout out to Adriana for helping me and my channel and my community, well, most of all my community and my channel, to stay alive during this tournament, right, to be able to follow the games live. Okay, let's carry on to round number 5. That was a tough one. That was a tough game against Harry Kadranovali. I misplayed in the opening and I suffered throughout the whole game. I suffered. Okay, first of all, let me... No, I didn't lose. I didn't lose the game, but I was very close to it. In this line, which seems to be quite symmetrical and not dangerous at all, but there is precision needed even in this exchange left line. And here I mixed up all the lines and all the moves, and I castled. I had to take on c3 first, because after castling knight c6, bishop c3, queen c3, bishop c6, no, b takes c6, there is a very strong move for white. That's probably my opponent knew that the whole idea of this line. Queen a3, and black is not able to prepare and to break through via c5. Because if they do play c5 after queen b6, rook c8, c5, everything would be fine. But here it's not possible, and that leads to some problems. Okay, I tried, but white stopped me. That's why in the game I decided to break through via the e-file. Still, a pair of 2 bishops, a lot of pressure on those 2 pawns, and quite an unpleasant position. Here was the last chance, I think, was the only chance in the game to complicate, to try to get something less, get a lesser evil. Because I played queen b7, that's a completely bad decision. I had to play g5. I had to try to hunt this bishop, to exchange this bishop, and even though this position looks very, very bad, and it's not so easy to break through. I mean, I kind of protect every pawn, and if white plays b5 at some point, well, it's gonna lead to more pawns exchanges, and it would have been, this continuation would have been stronger than the ones that I opted for in the game. Queen b7, because after queen b7, b5, the position is completely lost, and just a lot of miracles in this tournament. Bishop takes f6 immediately would have been stronger, because at the end, yeah, rook e1 is not the best move here. At the end, white won this pawn on d5, but at least my pawn structure on the king side was not ruined. And even though this position should be lost, but in time trouble, white did misplay. And here on the 31st move, I had a possibility, I had a choice. I found a very nice idea of sacrificing the second pawn, even though I realized that queen takes b7, capturing on b7 looks interesting. And probably, I mean, it was the move to make. Queen takes b7, because after bishop takes b7, I have a very strong bishop e8, stopping this bishop getting back to c6. After rook d4, h5, another strong move to stop those pawns of advancing. And then, yeah, my plan is just to bring the king closer to attack this bishop and to get into a rook endgame, which is most likely to be drawn. But, as I said, I was carried away by a wonderful second pawn sacrifice, which, as I thought, was giving me some counter chances against this king. But those counter chances are not enough. King h1, h5, rook b2. Here queen e1 would have been stronger because of the fact that I cannot take on d5 due to queen e8, queen h5, queen d5, winning this bishop. But my opponent, luckily for me, played queen c3, and here I made rook f2. And thus queen e1 is no longer possible because this pawn is hanging. It's more difficult to protect this pawn now. But of course, white's still winning. And there is a very cute move that white has, which is bishop e8. The idea is that here there is a double attack. And of course, if white exchanges his bishops, then there is no more attack. There is no more chances to survive. So bishop e8 is an interesting possibility, was an interesting one. f4 is also pretty good, but here, okay, I start this attack, and after king h2, of course, I was going to play g5, and still winning for white, but such a mess. A lot of practical chances, and my opponent here after king g1 made a final mistake in this game, which helped me to save half a point, which again at the end was very, very important. And yes, this game was commentated by Jess February and Hakim, and thank you, a big shout out to both of them for making it possible and for being my lucky charms, as Jess mentioned, and for helping me survive, which was not very obvious after the opening. Okay, let's move on. Round number 6. That was another very exciting game. I think commentating it on its own can take hours and hours and hours, but since I'm running low on time and I'm just on round number 6, it requires it requires to be a little bit faster. Okay, let's do it in blitz mode. Game I was playing white against Jansaya Abdumalik. She surprised me with the Caracan. I opted for a very sharp line, but I mixed up everything. I had to start with e6, playing h4, then I started with h4, but that, yeah, queen d6 gives a possibility. And then, of course, here bishop takes f7 is a logical and very strong move. King takes f7 is a big mistake. It's not so clear why black has to make this move. Here queen e2, knight h3, I mean, any development moves would be great, but I decided to play against this knight. I played g5. Unfortunately, it's too slow. First of all, yes, black can give a check, and I need to move my king on e2, but even after e5, I mean, I have to be very careful. Unfortunately, yes, for me, unfortunately, this knight, yes, it doesn't go to f6, but it gets to f5, and it stands pretty good there. And as often happens, a lot of things, and most of the things in this game happened behind the curtains. We left them behind. g6, probably an inaccuracy, but okay, it's so tempting to put the bishop on the long diagonal, but it's so wrong here. It's just too slow. And time matters a lot, even though it doesn't feel like it. It feels that black's position is pretty safe, but actually the king is on f7, and that gives white some very hidden tactical ideas. Okay, d4 is a very, very serious mistake, and if you, again, you're watching this recap in recording on YouTube, you can press pause and try to work out a very strong and winning continuations that white had. I played almost instantly after d4. I played almost instantly because I was not planning, I was not thinking that I had something else, I was not feeling it. It's often about feeling those key moments, and here I just didn't. I didn't feel it. As I said, as I mentioned, it felt that black's position is so solid. In fact, it's not. The king is still on f7, and white has a lot of attacking opportunities here. So I played knight e4, which is an okay move. At least it allows white to equalize, but white could play for more than that. White had a very strong knight sacrifice here, rook h to e1, with the idea after d takes c3, just capture on c3, and well, it's not the end, of course, it's just a positional sacrifice. And after queen c8, for example, white needs to find a very strong and a very difficult maneuver. Well, for me, it's almost impossible to find, even if I know now when I know the evaluation of this position. Still quite hard. Okay, in the game, maybe you can notice queen d3 and try to calculate, I mean, this line, but it feels okay for black. It feels quite safe. Maybe white has compensation that's enough for a draw, but they have more here because they can play knight e4, and the idea is to exchange this knight, and suddenly, I mean, somehow black is not able to save the king. That's very, very impressive. Because white is better developed, because those pieces are on the queen side, this piece sacrifice almost wins game. But again, it's a very hard one. It's a very hard one. It's not only about noticing rook h2-1, but about continuing the attack after this sacrifice. Beautiful. But okay, I didn't notice it. I noticed another idea, which is nice. Queen b4. And it allows, as I said, me to save the game, but not more than that. After knight a6, I'm obliged to exchange the queens. And here, of course, I had to agree on a draw. I had to agree on a draw, I decided to play on. Well, I have this problem of not knowing when to stop. And here I had to play rook d1, rook e1, and then a draw would have been a very good result. But I decided to play on and gave some extra chances to my opponent, which unfortunately were missed by her. For example, here rook f7 almost puts white into zugzwang. King d3 is a big mistake. I mean, going in the right direction, but to the wrong square. I need to get to e3, but unfortunately, after king d3, rook f7, if I play king e3 here, then there's knight d4. The square is protected, and this pawn is gone. The position is gone. Unfortunately for me, my opponent played bishop c3, and after king e3 I offered her a draw. Well, I just thought that it's gonna be a draw after bishop d4, king e2, bishop c3, king e3. It is indeed already closer to a draw, but it would have been better to agree to draw a few moves before. Well, that was another very shaky round, I would say. Let's move on to round number 7. Where was, yeah. well, my opponent had another possibility to celebrate a victory. I played against Maria Muzichuk. I played with black. It was an Italian game. We continued our theoretical battle in this line of the Italian where black plays d5. As you might remember, I won a very memorable game against Maria in the World Cup. It allowed me to qualify for the semifinals, I think, in Sochi in 2021. Well, okay, c3. c3, here I made the move a5, which is an inaccuracy, but again, it's like a long theoretical discussion and it's not the main thing. Here, a very funny moment. A very funny moment because Kevin, aka KD Learns, was commentating this game, and actually I made a clip with him. Let me share this clip because I didn't prepare it. This one. This is a clip where Kevin is discussing this position, this exact position, and he is saying exactly what I had to think, and he just shows that he understands this position very well. I mean, at least the way he explains what black has to do and why they have to do it is a very right explanation. Well, he is saying that white is threatening to give a checkmate. That's quite obvious. And there are two moves to consider, which is g6 and knight f6. And since g6 weakens black squares, it's more reasonable to play knight f6. And that's exactly what I had to do. And that's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to play knight f6. I was calculating some lines like this. And, well, the position is okay here. Completely okay for black. Even more than that, knight d4 is not possible here, so it's a trap. But for some reason, I calculated the lines that happened in the game, and I just couldn't believe that it would be good for white. And that was a huge miscalculation. Because I couldn't believe that after queen f1, knight e3, white will be okay. And they totally are. They're more than that. They're more than okay because, again, I weakened those black squares. And I'm gonna suffer because of it. Because of it, we see that white knight is about to get to f6. I saw it as well. There are not so many possibilities to protect from this maneuver, and I made the wrong one. I played f5, and this one loses the game. It loses the game, and again, if you're watching this video in recording, it's up to you to find the winning continuation. White plays and wins. And Maria missed it, surprisingly. Yeah, surprisingly Maria missed it. She played knight c4, which is a good move. White still has a very big advantage after that. But rook e6 immediately is not possible, right? Well, at least that's how we calculated it. It is possible. It's possible to make this strong move here. But it's even stronger to find before to make it possible. Because if I just retreat my bishop, rook e6 is possible. And white is winning. Yeah. Okay. What to do? Knight c4 was made. Bishop h8. And here white made a mistake that helped me to save the game. She played bishop g5. Rook a to d1 was so much stronger. Because after bishop g5, I got some time. And I used it very wisely. I used it very wisely for creating some counterplay. Time is very important, it's precious, and you always have to watch out for your king's position. Even when you are playing for an attack, you should not forget about your own king. King h2, f3, forget about this exchange. Now it's all about getting closer to this king and creating those counter attack. And even though this attack was not enough to win, although I didn't analyze this game quite in detail yet, I had the possibility to play king g7 and play on, but I went to this endgame. White manages to get to this endgame, and I made the draw. I mean, it should be a draw, but I could have played on as well, because as we're gonna see from the last round, 2 pieces against the rook, well, can be quite unpleasant. I have a possibility to create a pass pawn, and I might have tried. But it was already enough. I didn't even dare to think about trying here, because I was so happy surviving in this game. And that, yeah, we agreed on a draw. We made a draw. And let's move on. Let's move on to round number 8. Where I played against Anna Muzychuk. Yeah, the game with Anna was also quite a good one, quite a clean one, and with not so many ups and downs. And let me give a shout out to Kevin. Because he was the one who commentated those rounds before Maria's final rounds. Okay, good. Shut up. It worked. So with Anna, against Anna, that was a Grand Prix variation, which I use quite rarely, and Anna opted for a very good and safe line. The only thing is that for this 10 moves, she spent almost an hour, which is, of course, a huge time advantage. It's not a blitz game. It's not a blitz game. No, I see that it worked. Shut out. But anyway, if it doesn't, you can go to KD Learns and follow Kevin's channel, because he's doing a lot of interesting and entertaining chess content. Okay, Anna, but here she opted for castling, thus sacrificing this pawn, which is also reasonable. But bishop e6, I think, is just stronger. There is no way, there is no need to sacrifice this pawn, because even though, well, after sacrificing this pawn, even though there are opposite colored bishops on the board, but we have queens and rooks still in the game, and, well, a pawn is a pawn, right? b3 would have been a much stronger move compared to what I did in the game, not allowing black to exchange this pawn on c5 immediately. Instead I played bishop g5, thus letting black exchange it. And well, yeah, this endgame should be a drawn. Endgame b5. I was very happy when black opted for this move in the game, because after a5, I mean, already at this point I realized that there are some endgames with opposite colored bishops without the rooks on the board that can be won for white, which of course gave me some self-confidence. Let's put it this way. I decided to exchange a pair of rooks because it kind of eliminates some initiative that black has. And well, what can I do? I was trying to improve the position little by little. The computer screams out for b4 here at every single move for black, but it's hard. It's hard to make such a move, because when you're playing an opposite colored bishop endgame, well, you're taught usually to put your pawns on the color of your bishop. And when you're playing b4, that means that this pawn can be easily attacked. And it's so hard to evaluate the risk, whether it's going to be enough for white to win it or not. But yeah, black had to find the right moment to play b4. And as I said, almost every single move they could do it. Instead of that, the time trouble was approaching. Anna was in quite a significant time trouble due to the fact that she spent almost an hour in the opening moves. And yeah, here she misplayed. She misplayed somewhere closer to the time control, and she let me improve on the king side a lot. And by the last move, not the last move, 38th move, rook c4, that's already a serious mistake, and I think black's position is lost after this move. So she had to, I think, capture and play g6. That's what I was expecting to see in the game. And play g6. Of course, I was going to play bishop d4, preparing h5. I have some chances. I like this position already because of this h5 idea. Maybe even rook c7 was already a serious mistake. She put her rook on the unprotected square, which led to me having all those ideas. But still, a lot of games to do, a lot of play. And as I mentioned here, I think I just have a winning position. I could have gone for the line that happened in the game after some repetition. I could have played h5 immediately, but okay, I started with king g4. So of course I saw black's idea of sacrificing on h5, and I needed some time to make sure that this endgame, despite the fact it's very psychologically difficult, because you know that those opposite colored bishop endgames are drawn in so many cases that it's so nerve-wracking sometimes to go for one, even if you think it's a winning one. So I needed some time to calm my nerves down and to make sure that this position is winning. b4, I was very happy about the move. It seems that bishop takes g7 wins anyway, but I was scared that in that case, after b4, black can set up some fortresses. So b4, I thought that it's like the most precise move. And here, yeah, just too many weaknesses. I have this passed pawn, and the pawn on e6 cannot be protected. So I can play g7. I can kind of attach black's king to this passed pawn, and then I am going to win this f5 pawn and just gonna transfer my king to the queen side. And there is no way this bishop can protect this pawn on a6, because if it gets to c8, I play king c7, it needs to move away, and I play king b7, and I'm winning the pawn on a6. And my bishop is protecting the pawn on g7, while the king needs to guard it. And that's it. A very easy plan. And there is no way for black to stop it. Black gave up this pawn immediately. And here, since she didn't move her king to e7, I I won the game with another plan, which is also possible. King h6, king h7, g7. I mean, if she plays king e7, that's exactly. Then I have g7, for example, and c4 breakthrough that creates the second passed pawn, which wins the game. There are a lot of tricks to watch for in opposite colored bishops. The main trick is fortresses, of course. But if you're playing for a win, if you have many extra pawns in opposite colored bishops, you need to create passed pawns. Because as soon as you have two passed pawns, especially which are spread away quite widely, the position is winning. And well, trust me, it's a lost one. I mean, king h7 is also, I think, winning, but here bishop d3 and c4 you need to make sure to calculate, but most likely it's the same idea. Okay, and the game ended with, after king d7, king g7, in that case bishop d3, king f7. And yeah, after this check my pawn is gonna promote, and it's a win. It's another victory, a very important victory in round number 8. And the 3 last rounds, well, they were tough. They were very, very, very tough. Well, actually round number 9 was not tough at all, and I had to try to secure a victory in the tournament in that round. I was playing against Naran Zagnidze, I was playing with black, and of course I was trying to play this game in the most safe way. But let's see what happened. Let's see what happened. I opted for Nimzo-Indian Rubinstein system. White played e3, bishop d3, knight f3, and here I played c5 and let white create this pair of isolated pawns, which are similar in a way to an isolated pawn. It gives some initiative, but of course you got to be very careful about them because they can get lost. Bishop b7 is inaccuracy, but okay, it's a more theoretical discussion. Rook c1, bishop a5. I played okay. I managed to equalize. I was very happy about this queen a5 sacrifice. I'm offering white to capture on c4, and I want to play rook f to d8. And I'm just showing that I believe that my pieces are standing so beautifully that this pawn sacrifice, well, I'm gonna have enough compensation. White didn't dare to capture on c4, she played knight f3, and after rook f to d8, okay, the position equalized. It's an equal position, and I mean, white would have offered to draw, but it's not allowed till move 30, so we needed to make 10 more moves. And okay, my opponent, it seemed that everything is logical. She transfers the knight to e5, and here she needed, just to go away with her bishop, and but she played queen d3, and that's a weird move because that's a blunder. Queen d3 is a blunder. Suddenly, after bishop e8, white loses a pawn. So she had to retreat the bishop, and then little by little we would have exchanged bishops, knights, and agree on a draw on move 30. Instead, she played queen d3, and that gave me some chances because after bishop e8, I won a pawn. And I have a very dangerous extra side pawn. Knight f3, rook e7, rook a8, king g7, and pinning the bishop, bishop d3, and here I had to play rook a4. I was afraid that in that case rook would go to c1, then would get to c8, but it's nothing, there is nothing. I mean, those pieces, they protect my king very nicely. And my position actually here is almost winning. Well, still some a plan to consider and play, but I had some chances. I had to play rook a4. Instead, since I was afraid of this rook c1, rook c8 idea, I played bishop a4 to have rook e8. Rook c8, knight e4. And here I didn't see bishop b3 during the game. And that's the only move to continue playing. But since I didn't see it and time trouble was approaching, I decided to play it safe and agree on a draw. That's, I mean, was... now it's hard to say that it was the wrong decision, but you know, you have to play on. If you have an extra pawn, you have to look for moves that keep on the fight. Yeah, instead after knight c3, rook c8, knight e4, rook d8, knight c3, we agreed on a draw. And here comes a key moment. Well, one of the key moments of the yes, draw against Nana was a very good one considering the tournament situation, but it was like on move 20. But on move 30, when I had an extra pawn, I had to play on. I had to play on. I had to try my chances to win the game and to play to win, I mean, just to secure the victory. Because in round number 10, I was playing against Hampi Konoru, who was chasing me, who was having a great tournament, and I have to give a shout out to... First, I'm gonna start with GM Canty channel, because he was helping Maria in one of the rounds. And round number 10. I need to run now very soon. Ay, sorry. Just a second, I'll be back. Okay, I am back, but I don't have time to talk in details about my suffering against Hampi Konoru and about my last game against Zhujiner. I have to run. I need to prepare lunch, and I didn't realize that time flew by and it's been almost 2 hours. Oh, thank you so much to an anonymous gifter for mystery support of my channel. Okay, guys, meanwhile, let me show you the tournament table. It's been 9 rounds, and let's pretend round number 10 and 11 didn't happen, but anyway. I made a lucky draw against Hampi, and I lost to Zhujiner, although I had a very good position, and I wasn't able to finish the tournament with no losses, unfortunately, but fortunately for me, it didn't spoil the fun. It didn't spoil the fact that I scored a wonderful 7.5 out of 11 and took the clear first. And that's what we have after 2 legs of Women's Grand Prix, the current cycle of Women's Grand Prix, which are gonna continue. It's a series of 4 tournaments. The third one is about to start in a month in New Delhi. I'm not playing this one. I'm playing the last one. It's not gonna be in Bydgoszcz. It's not gonna be in Poland, as far as I know. It's gonna be somewhere else, and I'm expecting to show the to find out the location and the date soon. Of course, I will let you know as soon as possible. And of course, I'm giving a huge shout out to Maria Emelianova, who made it possible to keep my channel alive for the last rounds. She suffered with me during bad positions, and yeah, she brought me luck. Along with my other wonderful hosts. With that in mind, I'm gonna show you once again the short appreciation video of a host who made streams throughout the rounds, and I'm gonna run. I need to run now, unfortunately, but I'll be back, I hope soon, and we're gonna talk about round number 10, round number 11, and about some Bundesliga games that I played, and of course Pro Chess League that is taking place, and I already made history, right, with a historical bishop takes h7 sacrifice. Yep, we're gonna talk about that soon, hopefully, but for now I need to run. Here's a video, and well, stay tuned, and I hope to see you all soon.
Wait. None of the cameras show. What just happened?
I was too nervous about it.
Oh my god. So, yeah.
Yes! Finish! 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 GG! 4 out of 4. Incredible. Insane. Yes! We survived. Yes, 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 yes.
Wonderful. Let's just say, you know, what's going to make us feel a little bit better is that we're her lucky charm. And that is what I'm sticking by.
Okay, but I think that's a draw. Dead center. Okay.
Okay, I think the game might be over here.
Yeah, I think everyone can take a deep breath and release it.
It's amazing to have 6.5 out of 8 in the tournament with the best players. And of course, if Alexandra wins the game, she pretty much guarantees first place, even with 2 more rounds to go. This is how big is the gap. She did it. Look at her. Look at her. She's shaking her head. She's so angry at herself. Now she is much more, like, kind of relaxed. Okay, yeah, she is upset about losing, but I think the joy of winning the tournament is much stronger.